Hey guys, it's Mark from Ooika, and in this video, I'm going to talk to you what it's like picking tea in Japan, in the most famous part of all of Japan for tea picking and for matcha, and for tea in general, which is Uji, Japan. Ooh, the camera's off center. Let me fix that.
I know it's a bad day, catching every teardrop. Try to tame a hurricane, wish you didn't feel alive, but if you try to embrace.
Yeah, so in this bag is some tea that I helped pick. Now this tea will become matcha. We go through additional steps. So this is considered unrefined matcha, unrefined tea, which is known as aracha. So you'll get to see aracha, and what's exciting about this is I haven't tasted this yet. What's really exciting about this is you're gonna get to see me tasting this tea live. Okay, not live, but unscripted, I guess. I've never tried it before. This is, again, very special. It's from a farmer named Yamazaki. So let's start with a little bit of the story. Yamazaki-san is a farmer in Uji, Japan. He is a winner of Japan's most important and prestigious award in all of matcha and all of tea, which is the national tea competition. Yamazaki won first place last year for his matcha in the matcha category, which is called tencha. Tencha is basically just unground matcha, by the way. I had the experience to go onto his farm this year, a year after he had won first place, and pick tea.
大分、引き立ての抹茶をアメリカで。
Tea picking in Japan itself is pretty rare, let alone picking tea at a legendary farm and with a legendary farmer. And that's because tea picking in Japan is actually very rare. In your head, you might think of tea farmers going out and picking the leaves off the bush, but in reality, the actual number of farms that do that is quite small. It's something like less than 5%, maybe 4% of all the tea farms in Japan that do that. Think about what that means. In the 1,000 or 800 to 1,000 years of history of tea in Japan, all tea would have been picked by hand or with simple tools like shears. When I went and showed up to the tea picking at Yamazaki's farm, you'll notice that a lot of the tea pickers are older women. Now the Chazumi-san, which they're known affectionately, are the experts in tea picking. And you might think, well, anyone could go and pick tea, but it's not really true. First off, not everyone wants to go pick tea. In fact, it's not something that a lot of the younger generations really participate in so much. And on top of that, it turns out there's a surprisingly high skill cap to picking tea that who would have known? You're just taking the leaves off the bush. But that difference in skill really manifests itself over the period of the entire day picking in terms of the amount of tea you pick. And the tea pickers are paid by kg. They're paid by the weight of tea that they pick. So if you're slower than another tea picker, over the course of the day, that really adds up. Let's cover a basic. How long and how much do they pick the tea? This answer is hard because it kind of depends on how big the tea farm is. But generally speaking, a lot of the tea farms there usually pick tea within 3 to 4 weeks. So, you know, if you think about that, that means, of course, you might take a day or two off every once in a while, but you're going to be sitting in kind of muddy, somewhat stinky soil with tea bushes that are constantly like touching you, mosquitoes, bugs, and you're sitting there hand picking tea with your fingers. And yes, as you can imagine, your fingers start to get bruised and calloused. So it really takes a lot of time, and you're there for so long, basically until there's no sunlight. So you start in the morning and you go until night. You might take a lunch in the middle during the most hot part of the day. It gets really intense. But for the most part, you're sitting there with your thoughts. I loved it. Every minute picking tea was so much fun, but it's one of those things where if I was there 30 days, back to back, 8 hours in the heat, with mosquitoes, with mud, you know, it's not like you can sit there and watch YouTube. You're just kind of sitting there. It gets tough.
大分だよ。
The tea pickers are only there for 1 month out of the year. And every farm that uses the tea pickers, the hand pickers, Well, they're all pulling from the same pool of people that live locally. There's only so many people who are older women that are talented and skilled and fast in picking tea. All of it together makes it more challenging every year as, of course, older people get older and eventually they retire and eventually they move on. So there's less pickers available every year. Why does hand-picking tea make such a big difference? Why not just go modern and use shears and cut all the bushes the same way that, hey, 95% of tea farms in Japan do? The simple answer is when you're hand-picking tea, there's many benefits, but I'll cover, I think, two of the more, at least to me, important ones. One is when you hand-pick tea, you're able to target leaves that you actually want. If you use machines that just cut everything, you're going to get older, more mature leaves. Older, more mature leaves are going to be more bitter, less overall flavor. And when we're making a bowl of pristine matcha, what we really want is we want to concentrate the most amount of good flavor in that small amount of powder as possible. And if we're cutting in leaves that don't taste good, or that add too much bitterness, or don't have any flavor at all, we're going to get a final matcha that is not concentrated, not intense, or is concentrated and intense, but in the wrong way, with like bitterness and astringency. Obviously, we don't want that. The second reason, which I didn't think about until recently, especially after I had a lot more experience doing different types of hand picking across Japan, is when you pick by hand, you do less damage to the leaf. So let's do a kind of gross visual example. So I have this fig here. This fig was picked from the fig trees at my friend's coffee shop in the front. I eat them for breakfast every morning. It's cut here, so this will start to oxidize the same way if you take an apple and you pick it or cut the apple, it'll start to brown. And with very high quality green tea, we want to minimize that fermentation, enzymatic fermentation, also oxidation. We want to reduce that. We want our apple to still be white and crispy and yummy when we bite into it. We don't want to have an apple that's like apple cider. With matcha, it's the same. With tea leaves, it's the same. We want to make sure that our tea leaf has as little damage as possible, because any damage will introduce oxygen, which will damage the cell. And we think about a commercial cutting machine, it's gonna like damage and bruise the tea, sort of like this. So yes, it's still one piece, it's still one tea leaf, but the cutting mechanism has cut in all kinds of damage. And this damage will result in a final matcha that just, you can tell, and you get less freshness. I'm always a little paranoid eating figs, because raw figs, and those wasps get really small, so you never really know if it's in there.
I know it's a bad day, catching every teardrop. Try to tame a hurricane. Wish you didn't feel alive.
All right, let's get into actually like looking at this. This is hand-picked tea that was brought to the factory the same day. They put it through a steamer that prevents any more oxidation. And after that, it goes into an oven, tencha-ro, which then dries it. So after that process, you get unrefined tencha, which is unrefined matcha. That makes sense. It's called aracha or aratencha. So after we have that, we can do further refining steps and end up getting a refined tencha. And refined tencha is what we put into our stone mill to then grind matcha. So let's take a look. I haven't seen this since the day that I picked it. This is really exciting. By the way, the cultivar we're looking at is Saemidori. And Saemidori is known for its sweetness. Oh, here, it's very cute, isn't it? So it looks just like a tea leaf, because that's what it is. And this is the advantage, again, of having hand-picked tea. Because you can see on this, there is the sprig at the bottom that I'm holding with my fingertips, and the leaf on top. And the leaf on top is unbroken. You can see that there's two leaves in my hand, right? And this leaf, the darker one here, in the back, you'll see the color is much more dull, okay, compared to, okay, now you can really see this one is more dull, it's larger, it's more, it's hard to really see in the camera, but it's more kind of thick. This one is more delicate, it's more bright colored and more saturated. So if I put the light through this, you do get a little bit, but if I put it through this, there's much more light that comes through. So yeah, that's the difference between a leaf that is more mature and less mature. We want the really young leaves. And of course, when you do hand picking, sometimes you'll get leaves that are kind of on the border. Trust me, this is definitely not that mature. Sometimes you can get ones that are completely mature. This is our unrefined aracha. Now, if I were to try to put this into a matcha mill, it would get clogged. Not much would happen. That's because, one, we still have the sticks and the stems, parts of the leaf that are nice that we can mill, but they're too big. So we need to get it smaller. We need smaller little squares to be able to mill it so it can go through. The way that they do that is maybe for another video, but I think it's time to like actually start inspecting this and tasting it. By the way, you can eat these. They kind of have a Pringle-like texture, I found. Now, when you brew tea, when you brew tencha, in order to evaluate the quality of it, you do it with boiling water, and the idea is to brew it really bad, do a bad job on it. So that way you bring out the flaws, and you can also brew it for the highlights, where you make it taste good. So I was deciding for this video which I should do, and I decided to do the flaws. I'm really curious. I want to push this tea to its limit and see what it's like. This tea, by the way, could become this year's first place winner at the National Tea Competition, which is in a week from now. The judging is about to start. So let me get a scale. I got my little tray. This is called a haikenbon. It means a viewing tray. And you can get this, by the way, on the Ooika website. We have an entire kit that shows you how to do tastings, just like I'm doing now, so you can follow along at home if you have some tencha, which, by the way, I have a special and really fantastic announcement to make at the end of this video. I'm sure you can guess what it is. So let's go ahead and put about 3 grams of tencha on the tray. I should mention, and I'm not spending a lot of time doing it for this video, but the most important part of evaluating tencha is actually the visual part of it, looking at it on this tray with a window that faces north. And the reason is that we can learn a lot about the quality and qualities of our tencha just with sight. We can learn if it's hand-picked. We can learn about the delicacy of the leaf. We can learn about the intensity of flavor based on the intensity of color. Now, if you use this tool, you actually don't need a scale because the water just goes up to the top of this, which is boiling. This is really hot. It's a little less than boiling, but close enough. I am using a scale so I can tell you at home how much water to add if you don't have one of these tools. I'm just gonna pour this on top. It's about 100 to 150 milliliters of water. I'm at 140 right now. The color is unbelievable. It looks like it's artificial. This is a very special tea. You can tell how special this is. The saturation of the color is so rich. It's not about the tea being bright or being dark. It's more about the level of saturation. We're gonna steep this for 5 minutes. 5 minutes is way too long to steep a fine tea like this, which is the point. By steeping it that long, we'll get a sense, well, the character of the tea. Think about it like this. If you want to understand someone, you need to put them under pressure and see how they act. If everything is going well for someone, then you can't really learn about their true character, if that makes sense. Tea, it's the same. We'll just use the net scoop. We're going to pick some of it up. We're going to tilt it away from us so it can fall. The first thing that just jumps out at me is the freshness of this tea. It is incredibly fresh. Like, I really feel like I am in the hillsides. So again, we pick this up, we tilt it away from ourselves so the liquid can drip away from us and not scald us, not splash, not get messy, and then we just smell it. Oh, so clean, so fresh, so natural.
Oh, not acidity, it's so clear. Noise is nothing, very clean. Clean cup, and so strong dashy flavor, and so a little salty. It's so perfect, so some tea, I feel.
It's so good. Or if you were to serve this to someone just as a cup of tea, they would have no idea that this was brewed in the worst possible way you could brew it. It's very special. It's very unique.
大イカだよ。
Starting soon and or now, depending on when this video comes out, all of the matcha that Ooika sells will also now be selling the unground tencha version. This will allow you to understand matcha at a deeper level, at the same level that anyone in the industry in Japan would understand it. Getting access to the unground version of matcha is just not something that is normal. And that's because the tradition of matcha in Japan is as a, again, final product, where examining the individual components, the tencha, is not important for a consumer. It helps you understand why these processes, like hand-picked tea, are so incredibly rare and need to be protected and preserved. Some of these hand-picked teas do get more expensive. And when you go onto a website like Ooika and you see some of our teas, and you think, why is it so costly? Well, when you develop the flavors and understanding of the tea itself and understand, hey, hand-picked tea results in a clarity and a clean profile that you can only find, as Kenichi noticed, and I did too, in these hand-picked teas. It gives you an appreciation for it, and it makes the cost feel like, wow, it's so cheap. It's funny to me sometimes I look at a matcha and I know how it was produced and I know all the steps and I think, wow, it's so affordable. It's only this much money. But if you don't have the appreciation of the production side, then it might seem not just not cheap, but it might seem really expensive. So guys, thank you so much for watching. If you appreciated and liked this video and want to learn more about matcha production and cultivation, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell, and let me know in the comments below, have you ever tried hand-picked tea? And you'll know, because if it's hand-picked, most of the online sellers will let you know just because it's so rare and so special. So I appreciate you very much for watching. Be sure to check out our Instagram, by the way, link in the description below, where we post videos every day. Thanks guys, talk to you later. Have a great day.
大イカです。